tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Welcome to Truth and Justice with Vivian King on this beautiful April 23rd, 2014. In the studio, I have with me Tavares Coleman, who's going to tell his story of being a gang member and in and out of prison for about 19 years. And then I have my regular co-host, Mr. Danny Sneed, who is a member of St. John's United Methodist Church and the Path to Freedom Prison Ministry. We will learn a lot tonight by delving into Tavares' history, his background. Hopefully what we'll learn is how someone becomes a gang leader, gang banger, as a lot of people say, how you go in and out of that lifestyle, and then you are able to come out of that lifestyle successfully, which Tavares Coleman has done. And we're very proud of you for that. And hopefully your story will inspire others. So if you start watching this late, don't think we're talking about it to glorify gang members. We're not. But we do want to understand it in this society. We want to understand it, maybe figure out ways we can prevent others from doing the same. He also works with his prison ministry at his church, Lakewood, where he's certified to go into the prisons and minister to people in prison. So without any further ado, Tavares, please introduce yourself to my audience and tell your story, please.
Well, my name is Tavares Coleman. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. That's where I was born at. Then out in Thibodeau, Louisiana is where I was raised. My story simply starts off, with raising the project, seeing mom get beat a lot, traumatized my mind a whole lot, pushed a lot of anger in my heart to where I always want to be violent. Even from 5 years old, getting a BB gun, shooting people in the projects, and being shipped to my grandfather's house to raise me for a couple of years and be brought to church to trying to learn a different life. But after my grandfather passed away, my life started taking a turn. Young, not having a father there with me, raising me. My mom, a single mom, raising 4 kids, moving in different areas of the city. I started picking up a lot of bad habits, stealing out of stores, going in post office, breaking into them, getting a charge at 11 years old, a federal crime of burglarizing the post office. And from there, it just started spinning more and more and more. Started getting into plays and things like that, but that was enough for me. As my mom began to move to more areas, more troubled areas, that's when I started picking up the drugs and started selling drugs. Around 15 years old, I think I started started selling marijuana, and then started selling crack. Caught another charge at 16 drug charge, possession of marijuana, got put on probation with that. Then turned around and get arrested the same day, 16 years old, for curfew violation. So, one thing after another started spinning, and then all of a sudden at 17, I catch my first adult charge of distribution of crack cocaine. And it seemed from there, my whole young adult life was spent in and out of jail, from drug charges, second-degree battery, stolen cars, hit and run, another drug charge, gun charge, and then eventually the murder charge in 1999.
Okay. All right, that's a good summary of it. Now let's talk about your younger years, seeing the violence. Who was being violent to your mother? Was it boyfriends, husbands? Who was it?
It was my stepfather, which was her boyfriend. He would, seem like every other night they would be fighting, and he would beat her. You can hear her crying in the room. And also one night.
What was his problem? I know you were young, but did you ever understand, was he an alcoholic, a drug addict, or just a mean son of a gun?
I would say jealous. He didn't want to go nowhere. And as soon as she would get ready to go somewhere, I can see a lot of tension flying in the air. He want to keep her in the house. So that's where that came from. Of course, alcohol had a lot to play in there also, because they both would drink, and as soon as the drinking was at its max, I guess, that's when the fighting would start. And
Were you
so,
the oldest?
yeah, oldest boy, oldest boy.
Okay. And so then you were shipped to where your grandfather was in Thibodeau?
Yeah, and my her grandfather was a pastor at the time. He himself had come from the prison system on a murder charge, and she shipped me to him because she felt like he could talk to me better. By her being with me in the project, I wasn't listening to her. I was already, like I said, shooting people in the project with BB guns at 5 years old. I mean, I was already, mentality was kill, kill, kill. That's the way I was getting raised in that environment, that project. So, yeah.
Wow. So when you would do bad things like stealing or break the law, how did your grandfather deal with it being a minister, I know he was trying to pray over you and tell you what to do, right from wrong. Tell me how that worked.
Well, when she shipped me to his house, that was after a good beating. She shipped me to his house,
Well, you
and
needed a good beating.
yeah, she beat him, broke the gun up and everything, and shipped me over to his house. And I stayed with him. I didn't go back and forth from his house to her house. I actually stayed there. They took me in, and he would take me to church with him every Sunday, every Wednesday, and that went on for the whole 2 years I was with him. Until one Sunday morning, he actually caught a stroke coming out of church. I was with him. So from that stroke, he actually passed away.
So that's when you were 5 to 7 years old?
I was 5 to about. I left my mom at about 5. I stayed with him 6, 7, going on 8.
Okay.
Going on 8.
And so then after he passed away, you had to go back to your mom?
Went back to my mom. She moved to another project.
Now, was that back in New Orleans or
It's
Thibodeau?
Thibodeau.
Still in Thibodeau, okay.
Thibodeau. She moved back to another project. And the cycle just started where she started moving a lot of different places. My mom moved, I think, over 20, 25 times
Now,
while we
why
was
would she
young.
move so much? Was she a working lady or what?
She would work, but she also would get just tired of that area. She just feel just time for her to go, and she would just move to another area. So she did that throughout the whole city as we was children. So of course, it left a lot of not stable at all. My mind was constantly pick up and go, pick up and go, pick up and go. So that's how it actually was in our life as a young age.
Okay. Now, when you would be stealing and doing wrong, as a little kid, were you doing it with people or by yourself?
We had a gang. We had a little clique that we'd go to stores, the department stores, and that's when the wrestler figures came out. We would go up in the stores and take them, and steal, and play with them in the stores, and we had a little gang. We just go to just do this. We was bored. We just felt like just go run to the stores and just take people's stuff.
Now, even though your grandfather told you those 2 years he influenced you, it's wrong to steal, why would you still do it?
Well, it's one thing to have somebody in front of you as a guardian, constantly guiding you, and then when they're removed out of your life, that voice, even though it can still be there, it's not as strong as it was when that person was physically in your life. So by my mom not being aware in the moment when me going to the store, that influence that he had, plus the bitterness I had in my heart by him dying, all that kind of pushed me more into that world of stealing and not really caring about anything. He not caring about what mom thought about, just didn't really care no more.
Let me ask you this now. You said the bitterness in your heart from him dying. Do you think, and you started a little gang, was in a gang. Do you think other people in that gang had the same bitterness? Did y'all ever talk about that as gang members, or was everybody being too macho to talk about why y'all needed that negative affiliation?
Nah, we didn't talk about it. I kind of, didn't talk about that at all because really the people that I hung around with did not know my grandfather.
Okay.
So therefore, I didn't really get a chance to talk to them about that. I'm sure they did have bitterness because their fathers probably wasn't there, being the person they needed to be in their life. My bitterness came from my grandfather because I felt like he left me at a young age. And by him leaving me at a young age, I was left with no hope for direction in life. I felt like I just was lost. And as lost as I was, that's exactly how I started living. As someone who didn't care. My mom would not keep us in the house. She would just let us go. And when we go, we go. We wouldn't come back to nighttime. I'm talking about all day. We'd be in the stores. We'd go from one store to another. And then from back home, we hide our stuff in the dirt, after we've taken it, and be back for the next day.
Wow. Now, what would you say to kids to stop them from doing it, or do you think kids just have to run their course?
To some, they got to run their course because the head is hard. But for some, if they understand the charges that can start on you as a juvenile and can follow you even in your adult life, I think that should wisen them up because a lot of kids do not know that their history can be pulled up on them when it comes down to sentencing them in a court case.
Can I ask some questions?
Absolutely.
Who can you remember there was a role model? There was a male role model besides your dad.
Okay.
Maybe a school teacher, a coach. Was there anybody else in your life during that time besides your grandfather that influenced you?
When my grandfather passed away, like I was saying earlier, I started getting involved with plays, started acting in plays, and so I met a lady who had some children. She was getting them tried out for plays, and she asked me to come along. So I started getting involved with that, and then I started getting involved with talent shows and at the schools and going to camps and things like that. So those were the things that kind of influenced me for a time. But once my mom moved again, didn't see these people, so no longer I was getting influenced by that positive influence.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but then when I got to junior high, uh, I did start getting active in sports. Became like the trainer, the manager, carrying the stuff for the games and things like that. And I had a coach there that was there who was an influence to me also. He was an older man that took me under his wing to keep me out of trouble. He would come get me on Saturdays to go clean out the field house, and we'll go ride, and he'll buy coffee and donuts, and we'll just talk. And he was a very strong disciplinarian on me, and I thank him for that today because even though I was still living kind of on both sides of the fence, it was his advice that kind of kept me in that moment and kept me busy with the things he had me doing to stay out the streets. But then eventually he also passed away.
Lord.
And so once he passed away, um, I mean, here I am now, 16, 17. I'm in high school, but I'm still in crack cocaine, and I'm living the life, that I want to live, and nobody can tell me anything.
Now, when you were living that bad life with the cocaine, was there any hope that you could? I know you said you lost hope with your grandfather, and I'm sure you really lost hope once this positive, college educated coach man took time with you. But was there any alternative, any job alternatives to you
There was jobs offered to us, me and many
as a
of us.
teenager?
Yeah, Burger King. I mean, summer jobs. Those jobs were open at that age, 16, 17. But I saw my brother-in-law at the time, who was my sister's boyfriend. I guess you would call it brother-in-law. He had some friends who had came over with some cars with the rims, and I'm at the table getting my hair cut, but I'm seeing big money being counted. So I'm thinking to myself, I like the idea of work, but I see a whole bunch of money here and ain't nobody working. So I want to know what you're doing so I can get me some. You understand? That's what started taking me, was the fact that I started seeing big money versus the little money I can get on this job. And on top of that, I see the flashy cars, I see the attention they getting. Me coming from the project ain't having nothing. That's real to me. That's what I'm thinking anyway. Not seeing the trap, not seeing the depth of it, not seeing how much I can go into this and get caught up. And so that's what began to blind me at about 13 when I actually saw that. It wasn't until about 15, 16 when I actually started touching it and getting involved with that type of life.
Wow. That's kind of a powerful observation, and I'm always wondering when I listen to people's stories, what could I do to stop a 13-year-old? What could I say to someone to influence them to go another path? I know sometimes it has to run its course. Sometimes I wonder, what can government do? What can nonprofits do? What can churches do? What can we do? I mean, as those of us who've seen bad lives, all we can do is give back. I do this show to tell people stories. Danny works with the Path to Freedom as the encourager. You're working with your church, Lakewood, to try to go into the prisons. But I just wonder, could we have a bigger impact? Although I know we are encouraging people. I'm just wondering what we can do to the 13-year-old that, because I've heard people say that on my show. They see the big money, they see the flashiness, and it seems so easy.
Validation.
Yeah, how can society stop that? Because the problem is the people who are seeing that have no foundation. So that's, I mean, that goes without saying. So let me say that they have no proper guidance from home or coaches like you brought up. So now you just see, I could get a job and work at McDonald's or Burger King the slow way, or I could get it all right now. And so what is it that we could say that Sunday afternoon that we might mentor the teenagers to make them realize that that's the long, ugly path?
Well,
Because most of them, to me, let me just say this, most of them have that I don't give a damn attitude.
yeah.
Just like you said, if you're depressed or you're bitter inside, you're not going to talk about it at that age, but you have that F it mentality. Who cares what happens? I can't really cuss on the show, so I'll just say F. You just have that spur of the moment where you'll do things because you don't really care about the consequences. So I guess the question is, how do we make them care about the consequences?
Well, right now, I actually have a mentoring project called Empowering Youth for Tomorrow. It's a motivational speaking and mentor project that I use to go into the schools and talk to kids who are either going into that path or already there to help them see another route. Of course, my relationship with Christ when I got saved in prison, when went to jail on that last charge, a murder charge, it opened my eyes to a lot of things. Of course, I would say the same thing with young people today. Would be Christ, but then from there you have to build relationship with young people. Show them you care. Take them to places they've never been before. Expose them to areas that they never even known exist, like neighborhoods and opportunities, things that a lot of young people in certain neighborhoods are not exposed to. If they're all exposed to is drug dealing and gang banging and prostitution, that's what they grow up to sometimes desire. I ain't say all of them, but sometimes the majority get caught up in that because that's what they're so familiar with. But for me, I would say, encourage them by, like I said, bringing them places. And then when you get to these places, you encourage them, hey, you can own a house like this by doing such and such and this, you know what I'm saying? Because that kind of mentality need to be enforced into their brain. Sometimes they think, I come from poverty, I come from nothing, then I'm not going to be nothing. And they start to settle for a lifestyle that's nothing. And so that's what I would think would be the solution to a lot of this, is getting more involved. A lot of times, even in the churches, pastors, not all of them get involved with young people's lives. They're more focused on the adults of the congregation and not the young people who are slipping through the cracks.
Right.
And because of that, you got young people now, the parents now are praying for them because they're in jail or they're on drugs or they don't want to come to church because you looked over them. You didn't think that there was a issue, but they are the upcoming people of that church or that community. And if you don't take time out to intervene in these kids' lives, then you're going to lose them. And then you're going to have all these prayer meetings for to get them saved. You know what I'm saying?
That is powerful. That is powerful. Do you have a
Yeah,
comment,
I
Daddy?
want. Okay, I look at it like this: if I'm looking at a car and I'm looking at the clothes and the jewelry, that's real. I see that. But when you're talking to somebody young, you got to compete with that. Just saying that the values of your character, being honest, how can you make that shine and compete with the rims, the things that the rims that poke out? So what you got to do is you got to create something that looks real, but it's not material. Like it's going to be valuable that you have an education and you can go in a job interview and you can communicate in this world. I call it the king's language. One of the things that you have to teach someone, you're going to have to be able to communicate in this country. When you open your mouth, they begin to know who you are, regardless of what you want to do. That language is really the key to how people define you. If you speak in Ebonics all the time, you can't put a complete sentence together. When you go out in this society, they immediately say that I don't want to trust that you know or have any value based on your communication skills.
Okay, let's take a call. Mark, can you close the door, please? Um, let's take a call, please. Caller, you're on.
Yes, I have a comment. Good evening, everyone. Um, Glad this is a good topic as far as with the youth and what's going on with the youth. I think it's a deep thing for sake. So things change as far as cities different, and we're really all around the country now.
Now, make sure
So
make sure caller that you turn your volume down and talk directly into the phone because we're getting some
okay,
reverberation.
is that better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I think the lack of jobs. There's no jobs for kids. They get you get restaurant jobs and things of that nature, but it's just so many that you can actually get. It used to be summer jobs and things of that nature. And far as drugs, the drugs. This is Lamont again from Chicago, and we know what's going on with the youth in Chicago. There's a systematically targeting of the youth with drugs and guns and no jobs. So once you can't get no work and you can't get a job, then then somebody come to you with opportunity, okay. And then Chicago, of course, the gangs is involved a lot also. So they put the young people out there on the front line while the older guys sit back and just collect the money. So they give them guns, and the guns make them feel powerful. That's why that they so disrespectful now, that they feel like regardless of how big that you are, I got this gun right now, and I'll use it. And they don't think about the consequence after
That's
they
right.
use it. You know, at that particular time, they feel powerful because a gun will make you feel powerful. You
Right.
know, and they know if they show it that that either if you don't take them out, they feel that they'll punk you. A lot of them won't use it, but now they'll use it,
Yeah.
and they're not thinking of the consequences of it. Now, once they commit that act, and that brother probably can I don't say testify to it, but that brother know once they get behind them bars though, after they done committed it, it's a whole nother story for them. So I think that if they gave more jobs to the youth, I think that they had more like it used to be after school programs, or give them something to do. They ain't got nothing to do.
Yeah.
Right.
They'll,
Lamont, you're right, and
and
we're definitely advocating for that, and you continue to advocate that when you go to civic meetings and city council politicians meetings, because that's definitely something that we advocate for is after school programs.
Keep them busy.
Also, back in the schools, put vocations back in the schools, because everybody's not
yes,
college material. Some people are just great with their
absolutely,
hands. I mean, create things. Some of the
absolutely,
best carpenters in the world, black carpenters, come from New Orleans. I mean,
absolutely. And one more thing,
Houston doesn't have a lot, but I'm just saying we need, hairdressers. I mean, we need to some kids, half the kids in high school should be able to graduate and get a job in a vocation.
that's
You can
right,
go to you can go to
absolutely.
college at 30. You can, because a lot of kids go to college now as the only resort, and then they don't even have a job, and they have a bunch of student loans, and they're not even
Yep,
interested. They don't even know what they want to do. So, what's your other comment,
absolutely.
Lamont?
Well, okay, now, and then even like with bands, they took the bands out of the school. They don't even have bands like they used to now. And now a lot of they try to blame the stuff now on rap, like rap music now, right? Now I believe that rap came from when they took the bands out of school. We were so creative that we didn't have the instruments to play in like in the 60s and 70s, where you had all the great bands. Brothers, they made another instrument with the turntables and created a whole nother art form. And I think now that the art form has changed with the times and what they see, and then I think right now it's just a repeating cycle. And they trying to, like in Chicago, they try to blame a lot of stuff on this young rapper called Chief Keef, and that he's now the reason. But Chicago been like that since the 30s. But now we used to have like conscious rappers like
We're
Common
gonna have to
and
cut you off now,
Kanye.
Lamont.
All right, all right, all right,
We're
all
going too
right.
far
That's
left, but we
it.
love you. Thank you for calling.
All right,
Okay.
all right, all
Thank
right.
you. All right. Let's now talk about Tavares. Let's talk about getting in the gang. So we talked about a lot of your troubled times, the stealing, and what you did. But let's talk about actually getting in a gang and becoming the gang leader like you were. Tell me about the gang process.
Well, by me being someone who really didn't have a feeling or care about doing certain things, it drew a lot of people around me. I was a daring dude. I was the one that would step out and do it first. And so by me, taking up that rag, that red rag, through someone that introduced it to me from California, I was now officially, how I would say this, one that was a candidate to start ruckus in the neighborhood. So what I did as a leader, I went on I would say a caper. A caper is one when you step out and you start doing daring things like robbing, burglarizing, stealing certain things like cars, killing. It's part of the initiation process, and so therefore that was my initiation, and that was to rob. And so that's how I actually begin to be the leader, because by me having the boldness to step out and start robbing literally on my own, my respect came from that. And when I would rob, I didn't rob with a little pistol. I would use a pistol grip shotgun. So that's how I got my respect from that type of artillery. So by me now doing that and over again, it was no choice to see me as a leader in the gang. And so I started a certain network in that town. And as brothers started coming on, they started getting initiated. But sometimes the initiation wouldn't be through guns. It would be through jumping them in, fighting them, beating them and having them to fight back. And if they can hang through three people fighting them, then they in. but they would have to fight all three of us, and that fight would go on for sometimes an hour, hour and two, until he bloody, until he can't go no more. And if he's officially still breathing, we good.
Now tell me how the tattoos work. 'Cause I see tattoos on your face.
The tattoos are symbols, very much symbols of things I've come from in my life, and even things that are present in my life. The teardrops, they come from losses that I've had to see in my life. People who were murdered, and people who also were murdered by other people. So, like I said, that life, I lived it, and I come through it. So, like I said, these tattoos, um, that's what they are. They're just from the past. They represent from the past.
So what about the star tattoo? What is that?
The star tattoo, I I would say that star represents star power. Some people say it's a 5-point star for the blood, even though, like I said, that's the past, and that's where I'm coming from. But right now, it's star power. It's the power I have to be
Okay.
the star, and
You
to
redefined it.
and influence people. Right, right, right,
I like
right.
that.
So so tell me. So you became the leader. How long were you gang affiliated?
I was gang affiliated from the age of 14, 14, all the way to 22.
And people say that, older people say, well, you can't get out of a gang once you're in one. Tell us how it could be specifically until you were 22. How do you get out?
Well, the thing about it was that when I got locked up on that murder charge, I had a moment in that jail cell that really changed my life around. And from there, that awakening experience not only helped me understand the path I need to take, but it also touched me in a way where people who knew me from the gang, they respected my decision. Even as a leader, they knew that if I made a decision that I was going to get out, there was nobody saying, oh, I'm going to kill you for this. Because when I was in that jail cell, I had a visitation. That cell lit up. I seen a light shine up in that cell. I was by myself. And as that light shined up on me, I heard a voice speak to me and said I would work for him. And I didn't know what that was at the time. But today I do know that was God that spoke to me about me working for him. And what he meant by that was that me come and share now, this what I'm doing now, showing people that a man can change, a man can come from the streets. Because it wasn't just a gang life. I was also, snorting cocaine, snorting heroin. I mean, I was an alcoholic. I was a young alcoholic. I drank every single day. I kept alcohol in the car with me. I kept guns in the car. That's how I lived my life. And so when that happened with me going to prison for that murder charge, and constantly making the decision to change my life, when I began to let people know who was connected to me, what I was doing, it was respect. It was nobody saying they're going to kill me or do this and that and the other, because they ain't had to just fight against me. They had to fight against the person I serve now, and that's God. So he took me out, and that's how it ended up happening.
So let's talk about the miracle of jail. Now, you went to jail. You got in January of 99, you got a cocaine case. You'd already been to prison before. Then in July of 99, you get a felon in possession of a firearm case, which is a federal case, but also can be prosecuted state. And this is all still when you're in the state of Louisiana. And then you get, in August of 99, you get a murder charge, conspiracy to commit murder. And someone got shot and run over with a car. And so I guess you and other gang members got charged with that same conspiracy. How many people
Well,
got charged with the
two
murder?
people,
Two.
me and the guy that was supposed to be the trigger man, we got charged. And apparently, I don't know if it was a setup or whatever, but I got hooked up on it. Our face was put on the news, names put on the news, and actually it was 2 counts of second-degree murder. There was another murder that they was attempting to put on me, and that's why they when they brought me in, they started throwing life sentences at me, saying that's what I'm about to go do, life in federal prison, actually.
So he had he was facing the maximum punishment of 2 life sentences for 2 federal murders, right? And you had the felon in possession, which a minimum of 10 years in feds, and then you had the possession of a cocaine, right? And that's all in 99. And you said you went to trial on one of them. Let's talk about the possession of cocaine case you went to trial in Louisiana. What city and parish was that in Louisiana?
Thibodeau and Lafourche Parish.
Okay.
I went to trial on a possession of cocaine charge that I caught in January of 1999. It ended up getting I'm getting time for that. Equal
Well,
out
it was
to,
a mistrial.
it was a mistrial. I
So
went
that
to,
means the 12 jurors could not come to an agreement
well,
whether
what
you're
happened?
guilty.
No, this would happen in mistrial. One of the jurors were incompetent. He was a felon, and they didn't know. So when he came in, they say we got to throw a mistrial because this guy's incompetent. So
Okay.
that's how I threw a mistrial. And so we're going to go back to trial again for it. And I begin to hear the DA tell me about how they're going to multi-bill me if we lose, if I lose.
What does that mean?
Multi-bill means if they're coming at me with time already, say for instance 8-9 years for that charge. If I lose, they're going to add 9 or 2 more 9-year sentences with it. So it's going to be 27 years altogether. And so that's what they was saying to me, that if I go back to trial and I lose, they were going to multi-bail me. And so by me hearing that, I copped out to the 8 years for that possession charge.
But were you able to do 8 years on all the cases, even, or did they drop the murder case?
They dropped the murder charge.
How did you get that dropped?
Well, my friend, who was the trigger man, admitted that I had nothing to do with it. And by him saying I have nothing to do with it, it freed me up.
Well, were there witnesses that said you had something to do with it? I mean, who was gonna prove you did it?
They had witnesses, but they knew better.
What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I just told you, I come from a lifestyle where people
They feared the consequences.
I want
if
you
they
to say
testified.
it. Say it.
they knew if they talked, they wasn't gonna walk no more.
Okay.
That's what they knew, and so therefore, by me and him being left only the people to tell the story, he told his version. I backed out, and it got dropped to accessory after the fact.
Okay. But who was the person that actually ran over the man?
Apparently him. He was the one that let the car go on top. But that's what the story I hear. I don't know too much.
The story
about
you hear was that your co-defendant said it was an accident that he ran over.
Right.
But in reality, the man had been shot and run over. But I guess law enforcement didn't deal with the shooting part of it, just the getting run over part.
Well, they dealt with the shooting part of it, but like I said, because of his story that he told him, I mean, I don't know nothing. That's what I didn't, I didn't.
You weren't privileged to his conversation with his lawyer
What?
and the DA. You just know that he said that you didn't have anything to do with it, so you were.
Right. As we was getting interrogated, he's getting interrogated, I get interrogated. I don't know anything. He tells him their story, and when we come out the interrogation room, the police tell him that, hey man, you got a real homeboy. He refused to give you up. Now the police telling him that about me, because I don't know that.
Well, the thing is this though, what the police do a lot of times though here in Houston, in Harris County, is they'll say, okay, we take Tavares in, we take Danny in, we separate you, we interrogate you for a couple hours, we interrogate you, but we keep going back and forth. Okay, I'm gonna leave out. And then they'll come and say, well, Danny said that you did everything. Then they'll leave out and come and say, well, Tavares said you did everything.
Right.
And so that'll make you mad and you'll tell everything, because even though y'all are doing wrong, y'all believe that the police officers have to tell the truth, and they don't. They can lie just like you can lie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
To get to the truth. And I have clients all the time saying, well, they lied to me. They said they were gonna take my girlfriend's baby if I didn't say I did it. They were gonna do this. They'll never admit that. That's not gonna be on tape that they did it. In fact, they go out the room and conjure up this. So that's what's interesting, that you actually had officers that didn't lie on you to your friend.
No, they did. They did. They lied on me to him, and they lied on him to me. But I know him.
Okay.
He know me. And so
Let me tell you, young gangsters ain't like that. It's
Not
one thing-
loyalty. No loyalty.
They ain't no loyalty.
I'm 37.
Right.
The new school stuff they got going on, I don't know what they're doing.
Right, yeah.
I
They'll tell
come
it on
from
each other
old
in a
school.
heartbeat. They'll kill together and tell it. You like
Immediately.
2 weeks later.
Well,
immediately,
when they hear
they'll tell it.
99 years and they hear life sentence, that's make them bucking.
Hell, don't they know that anyway?
Well, they know that, but that's not real. They not real.
It's not real till they're in that room.
Real. It's not real. This life I lived was real, and I kept it core all the way to the end. I kept it just the way it was. If I was real in the streets, I'm gonna be real when we go down together. I'm gonna be real when we come out. I don't turn on nobody.
I just want to say that these are the type of men God always choose. What I saw
Strong
God
men.
saw in me is, man, you loyal to the gang, Danny. You passionate about this lifestyle. And I can see him looking down like, go. That's who I want. I want him. Because look how passionate and committed he is to doing wrong. If we can get him on our team, he'll be just as passionate. He'll be just as committed. He's loyal. He don't straddle the fence. He don't try to love one and hate the other. Whoever he's committed to, and that's what I see in you. That's when you talk about being in that, you was loyal to it and committed to it, and now that you're on this side, that's your commitment
Yes, sir.
to Christ.
Yes, sir.
That's good stuff.
That's real good stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's like I said. I was a leader. I breathed that into them, loyalty. So if I'm gonna breathe that in you too, I gotta live it. I can't just get caught up in the mix and be like, okay, I'm gonna bail out of this loyalty thing. No, I can't do it. it was debt before dishonor, and that's what I believe. You know.
Wow.
So
That's powerful. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So the person that was killed was supposed to be a confidential informant?
that's what
Is that what the police told
that's
you?
what they were saying. There was a confidential
But
informant.
you didn't
Apparently,
know that.
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that at all, and that's why it was a federal offense. But then all of a sudden it got fixed where it was a state offense, and the charge ended up getting that coming out to a vehicular homicide charge, and I ended up getting credit for time served. I was in there about 18 months at the time when I did get that, and then he himself, the guy who committed the crime, got 5 years. So he did 18 months on a 5 year sentence. I did 21 months on an 8 year sentence because when I went to court and got the credit for time served, I was 18 months, and then I got that other charge put on me, that cocaine charge. I was supposed to do 4 years on the 8. I ended up doing 21 months on the 8 year sentence.
Wow.
So if that makes that sound clear enough.
So when did you get off parole?
2007,
And that,
January the 7th, 2007. That's the same night my homeboy, who I caught that charge with, died at
wow.
2 o'clock in the morning.
How'd he die?
Overdose on cocaine. He went back, started snorting coke again, and he already had a weak heart, and I never knew that. All the stuff he was,
Y'all done together?
I never knew his heart was weak, and he actually had died. He had heart failure. He had went in the hospital, stayed there for about 3 months on the coma, and went to go see him a couple of times and hear him talk to me about things that he needs forgiveness for. And I told him, I said, yeah, that time I'm saved. I knew God had forgiven me for all my wrong. I said, hey, man, he can do the same thing for you. So God gave him another chance. He came out, lost a lot of weight. He was down to like 150 pounds from a 230 pound, and walking with a cane. And I stuck with him.
He
I
was
tried.
how old? Was he about 30?
At the time, he had to be about, I came home at 26. He was about 28,
He
29.
was on a cane at 28, 29?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so he went back to smoking and snorting, and died in sleep,
Wow.
overdose.
And that was in January of 2007 when you
2007.
got off parole.
Same night that parole time was ending. The same night he died.
Now, was he still on parole or was his
No, he
ended?
was he was through.
He was already
He was
through.
through. He did his time. He was through.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now tell me about the epiphany you learned in prison. How did prison change your life? Now you were telling us about the light that you saw. Now was that before you got the actual sentence or was that when you were in jail awaiting your trial and awaiting your plea bargain?
I was waiting. It was about 2-3 days after I got arrested on the charge.
And about how old were you?
I was about 22. 22, making 23 that year. I was in there and I was, just walking around. I was in the hole, isolation, no windows, anything, by myself, walking around, rapping, making beats with my mouth. I used to like to rap, I used to like to get into the stage and things like that. And all of a sudden, I just started realizing, hey, I'm in jail, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at a life sentence, I need to start praying about something, because I'm about to be gone for a long time. So I got on my knees. I didn't know God like I know him now. I said, Lord, if you get me out of this, I'm going to leave these drugs alone. I'm gonna leave the streets alone. I'm gonna go into the music business, start getting off into the rap. And all of a sudden, the room just lit up. I mean, a light shined in from like this light on this curtain of it, just shined up in that room all over me. And I felt heat all over my body. And that heat just got stronger and stronger. And so all of a sudden, I heard a voice speak to me and said, no, you're not. You're about to work for me. And I just waves of tears, man, began to cry. I said, God, I'm sorry for the life I've been living. And I began to tell him, Lord, come in my life. I need you. I need you to save me. And immediately, I felt peace in my heart. I mean, a change that started taking place just on that spot. And from there, I still was there in that hole for maybe about a couple of days later, because my girlfriend at the time was calling the jail trying to find out why he's in the hole, why he not in being able to call us. And so they was threatening the newspaper to come in and get a story on it, but finally they let me out. And I finally got released into population with the rest of the guys. I got released to the block where they was holding people with kidnapping charges, murder charges. So I started getting up there, reading the word, and started getting my mind right. And not long after that, I started going to the Bible studies up in there and started getting myself together. I realized I had been living far away from God. I'm talking about just real far, doing the stuff I was doing. My mind, all I thought was murder, murder, murder. That's all I thought. That's how I lived my life. So, imagine thinking like that on a continual basis. You wake up, you thinking how my next victim going to be. I mean, that's the kind of life I live. And I got tired of that. Even when I was in the street, I would be like, God, I know it's more to life than this. I know there's
Did you
more
ever
to
get
life than this.
shot?
Yeah, I got shot. I got shot on the bed. A robbery went bad one night. I got shot. I went to go rob some guys, and the gun got jammed on me. And when I bailed out, they burned me. They burned me. They shot me one time in my back. But when I fell, the funny thing about it, I could see the bullets going around my head the whole time,
Ooh.
and not one of them hit me.
Ooh.
It felt like a shield was over my whole body. And so that happened, that night when I went to go rob them guys. But I still got that bullet in me today. And when it get cold, I limp because the bullet makes me limp. Yeah.
You didn't go to the hospital?
Went to the hospital, but when they began to do the surgery, they saw how far it was inside of me. They didn't want to cut because it was gonna mess my body up, so they left it there and say that was not gonna harm me later on. So it's still in me.
You know what I call that?
What's
The
that?
thorn is in my is sticking in my side.
Remind you.
Yeah, yeah. If I was say, man, Lord, if you just get this out of my, I'll be
You have one
okay.
too?
Why?
You have a bullet too?
No, but my scars are not. You can't see them, but they there. But I've experienced some things like this right here. I robbed a guy on a street corner selling drugs. About 30 drug dealers out there, and I walk up and rob one guy, and everybody started chasing me. And
All the drug dealers start chasing you?
yeah, and if they would have caught me, they would have killed me. But I didn't think about dying. So when I robbed him, it's dark and they all over there selling. He said he robbed me. I take off running. The whole block starts chasing me. So I'm running through the apartment complex and I see the swimming pool. So I'm thinking I'm gonna run by the swimming pool. I forget this pool is enclosed by a fence.
Oh Lord.
I run into the fence. The fence
Stop you.
springs me, and it springs me back, and I look, and there they all are.
Oh my God.
So, and I keep running, and eventually it's only like 6 guys chasing me. And then it was down to like 5, then it was like 3, then it was like 2, and then it was like 1 guy. So, ooh, well, he must have ran track like I did. But because I ran track and I was in the military, I could run long distance. But this guy, I said, man, he must have been ran track.
He must not be high tonight.
But eventually he gave up, and I survived. And you know why I got this scar?
Right.
Because when I fell on the street, I had the drugs in my hand, and I refused to let it go, and I skid it, and that's from falling on the street. But when I finally got away, opened my hand, and to me, the insanity of that, it was worth it.
Oh Lord. And that is insane. But it's good you can look back and say the insanity of it.
But I lived through that for a reason, and I remember it for a reason. So just like he said, when it's cold, he limp. But I have to tell that it's not something that I can glorify. Don't make me look good, but my truth allows me to live the day. My real truth allows me to live the day, and that's my real truth. That's something I experienced in that lifestyle.
Got you.
Let's take a call. Caller, turn your volume down and speak directly into the receiver. Thank you for calling. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, I have a question. I don't know, maybe you can help me. I have a
Now,
friend.
I want to make sure that your question is on the topic that we're discussing tonight, because that's what our questions are about.
Okay, well, I just cut you all. I just picked you all up. What is
Keep
the
watching, sir,
question?
and we'll let you know. We're talking about gang members, prison, and trying to break that cycle. God bless
Oh,
you, and thank
okay.
you for calling.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So anyway, wow, that was a serious epiphany in prison.
Yeah.
So when you did that 21 months, you'd already had that experience 2 or 3 days in. Were you building your strength to get off drugs and to get your mind right and have a plan B for when you got out? And, because your whole environment had been negative. You said your mother moved 20 times, you watched her get beat. Your grandfather, who was a positive influence, you only had him from like 5 to 7.5 years old every day. And then your coach that was influential passed away on you. What was going to be your lifeline when you got out, you know? How did you do that?
Well, I would say unfortunately. Fortunately, I had some guys coming in there who were from a church preaching and teaching to me, and
Similar to what you guys do, the
yeah,
prison
yeah,
ministry.
exactly,
Yeah.
prison ministry, who had been in Angola and been in prisons before, and when I seen their life and seen how they had come from all that, it inspired me a whole lot. Cause here I
Hold on
am,
just a second. Do we have another caller, Mark? Okay, go ahead.
Cause here I'm a guy coming from the streets, seeing these cats shit coming from the prison, and they in prison ministry, and they talking about God and how He changed their life. That's inspiration to me. So by me being there, I got my GED, and I had just a heart to serve God. I was no longer wanting the drugs I was using in the streets, because while I was in there, I just got completely weaned away from them. But when I came home, 12:01 midnight, I got baptized. I got baptized like 1 something that morning. I was just eager to get in church, and they became a support team for me. They became accountability partners. I needed them because it was times that
Woo, he's talking that right talk, isn't he, Danny?
it was
Accountability partners. I mean, that's the
yeah,
deal.
it was time.
Accountability.
Because even when I
Wow.
came home, I didn't have a job. I didn't have a job for 8 months. I mean, I was literally on faith. Just people come and give me money, to help me so I don't go back into the
Who'd you
streets.
live with?
My mom. When I first came out, I lived with my brother, and then my mom got a place, and I moved in with her. And
Was she no longer getting her butt whooped?
she had.
Now you was gonna handle it then, huh? What about when you were growing up? You wasn't gonna let her get
Well, I
a.
tried. I tried to fight her boyfriend at the time. I was 5.
No, I'm talking about like 15 and 16.
Oh,
Did you try to
15?
fight him? Did she have
Well,
any?
no, at the time, by the time we got guns, I mean, yeah, there ain't no fighting no more. I mean, and then mom always would tell us to stay out of her business
Okay.
because it was something that was going on that we didn't understand. We want them doors closed. I didn't know what was going on behind them closed doors.
Okay. Stay out of
So
business.
yeah, so when I came home, I started getting into the church and getting with these guys. They would take me on outings with them, talking to me, mentoring me, because I still needed them. I mean, I needed them when I came home because I was getting issues with the pastors and people in the church, and my mind, even though I'd been down for 21 months, I still had some of that foolishness in there where I ain't gonna let y'all talk to me any kind of way. And on
Confrontational.
top of that, the pastor, I'm getting conflict with him, so I'm ready to do him. So I'm like, calling him on the phone, hey brother, I need y'all to pray with me because man, I'm about to lose my mind out here. And they was there to help me a whole lot. And so that was the intervention that helped me when I came home, and it gave me the pillar I needed to keep moving. And so
Wow. Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah, because what he's explaining is why he's here is almost like I'm gonna go back and do for somebody else what was there for me, and that's what's so powerful about putting a face on success and a face on change. We can talk about it, but when you can bring somebody in that's had the experiences he had, see that he's changed, you want to put him in front of somebody that's saying that, okay, you telling me to change, you tell him give me all these tools to change, but when you bring him in, it's like seeing the cars, that's valuable. So that invalidates the jewelry, the lifestyle. I can see that you actually can change. That can counter the rap music, Cash Money Records, still flamed up, still showing flags, but they billionaires almost, and they still promote gang activity. That's hard to compete with. And they're out of Louisiana. And I don't know why I plug that, but because they do. They promote gang activity with their platform when they could use that to do something else with
And
it.
they're not in gangs anymore anyway. So let me segue here. 8 months. You said you was out 8 months before you could get a job. So tell me what your first job was.
Walmart. I went to go Walmart one night. It was about 10 o'clock.
And this is in Thibodaux?
Homer, Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
Went to go get a job, and when I went to go fill out an application, they was like, we're not hiring. And so I started walking out the store. And as I was walking out the store, the manager at night, she come running behind me. She said, hold up. What about doing floors? What about maintenance? Would you be willing to do that? I say, sure, I just need a job. So I got plugged in overnight, and from there I started working in overnight maintenance, and then I moved to part-time working in the meat department, butcher. And then before you know it, I moved from that store to another store to Garden Center. And then I just got this notion where I think I need to try to be a manager. And I did. I started training for management.
Wow.
And when I started training for management, that's when I started just thinking to myself, I might just leave the job and go fulfill other things. And I did. I actually started going to school and learning some other things. So I left the assistant manager training spot they had me in. and went and do
Did they
something
know
different.
about your past when they let
Yeah,
you have the job?
they did. They
That's
did.
good.
They did, and that's what I told.
Now, does Walmart hire ex-cons, or does it? Is that a policy, or they can just hire whoever they want?
Well, I told her what I did. I told her where I come from, and they gave me a chance. Now, when I did try to go back again a couple of years later at another store,
Right.
they wasn't letting nobody come in. I don't know what happened between that time, or it was just for me to go there. But even my partner, the one who committed the charge, went down on the charge. He started working at Walmart too as a shopper. I mean, a push buggy guy. And I was laughing because they didn't know who they had working at
What's push
Walmart.
buggy mean?
The carts, the pushing the carts.
Outside, you go get out of the carts and bring them inside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh,
Why is that funny? I don't
because
understand.
they don't really know they had a hitman working on.
Ah, they had a hitman in the parking lot.
See,
So he
history
could.
brought them. Now look at
Yeah,
us now, man.
He pushing cars. He
Yeah,
Working at
he
Walmart
setting
now.
up hits. They got a hitman.
Yeah, they got a hitman out there. I'm laughing, you know what I'm saying? But they don't know. I mean, we come from a long way, But
That's good stuff.
yeah.
So what? I know you're a felon, big time felon. So you can't have no gun. I'm just saying, but you can't have no gun ever.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you can have a gun in your house. You've been off parole 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you've been off parole 5 years, no paper at all for 5 years, in Texas, you can have a gun in your home.
Registered in your name?
Yeah, yeah. I've been heard.
In your home, but you can never, ever carry a gun for the rest of your life. That's the way the law is now. If you get caught carrying a gun, like here, you get stopped on the traffic stop and a gun is in your car, you can go fed time, minimum 10, felon in possession, or you can do state felon in possession, okay? But after you've been off paper completely for 5 years in Texas, your Second Amendment right to bear arms at home is restored. But if in the meantime, before that 5 years is up, you live in a home where, say, like we married, and I have a gun. I have about 2 guns and a shotgun at my house. And you can't live with me.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get rid of my guns if you're going to live there before
Really?
that 5 years is up. So you can't say, if somebody come in and do a raid and you live there, you paroled to my house and you live there, you can't say, oh, well, that's Vivian's gun. I can't stop her from doing guns. No, it's a part of your parole papers here that say you can't live in a house with guns. So if anybody has that right, they got to get rid of the guns for you to be there. That is the law, right? So that is the law. Now, I can have a gun and you not know it, and they come in and do a raid or a search or see me with the gun and then say you're a felon in possession. They have to prove that you knew that the gun was in the home.
Okay.
You intentionally possessed it, and possession is care, custody, and control of the premises, okay? So if you control the premises and you know someone else there can legally have one and you're just turning a blind eye, you're guilty because you can't be in custody, in possession of that.
Gotcha.
Okay, do you understand that? But like I said, you in Texas, I don't know what the law is in Louisiana, but Texas law allows you to have a gun in your home after 5 years, but you can't ever carry one.
Gotcha.
Okay, you understand? Okay, let's take a phone call. Caller, turn your volume down and ask your question. Okay, let's take a phone call. Caller, turn your volume down and ask your question. Talk directly into the mic. We can hear my echo.
Okay. The question I have is, as I moved in here from another state, and I was previously a felon in another state, but now I'm a resident of Houston, Texas, a resident of Texas. So have my Second Amendment rights automatically been restored or never been denied by Texas? So can I possess a firearm?
I just answered that question, but let me say it one more time, okay? And this is just the law in general. I'm not specifically answering your question. I'm just telling you what the law is, and you get in where you fit in. In Texas, you can have your Second Amendment rights again in your home after 5 years of being off paper. So if you got off parole and you're off of everything, then you can have a gun in your home only. You can never carry a gun in your car, on your person, have a gun license, anything like that. You can protect your home like the Constitution allows you to. You hung up on me and I hear it. What's my next call? Caller, turn your volume down and you can. Okay, no problem. Okay, sir. Hopefully that answers your question. And if we have another call, you can put that on, Mark. Okay. Well, we only have a few minutes to wrap it up. Danny, because you're the co host, I'm going to let you start and you think of something profound to tell us in the last 2 minutes. Okay, Tavares? All right, Danny, what's the moral to the story?
Well, the moral is I want to say thank you again for creating a platform for a guy like Danny, a guy like Tavares. Give us an opportunity to tell our story and put a face on the success that we achieve. Again, I'm here representing the Path of Freedom at St. John's downtown. The Lazarus Project, we meet at 5:30 to 7 p.m. on Mondays. And we're there to offer hope and support to recently released people that are paroled to Houston, Texas. Um, Again, I want to, for your success, man. You encouraged me, you inspired me to continue to do on a daily basis, one day at a time, to just keep trying to push as much of my past behind me as possible, but not fear talking about it to encourage people. The more I talk about my real truth, the more it frees me from the shame, guilt, and remorse of some of the things that I can't go back and undo in my life. But I believe if God's forgiven me, man can't hold me accountable for any of those things that I've done if God has forgiven me.
And when will you be off parole, Danny?
Next year.
We're going to have a big celebration.
We're gonna have a good.
When
we're
will
gonna
it be?
celebrate. Is it August of 2015? I've officially done.
Okay, because he can't have no guns. He can't play with no guns. Okay.
Not even on my PlayStation.
Not even with your PlayStation. You can't play with no guns. And your wife can't have a gun. In the house. There are no guns. Y'all can go get him. He got to hit you with a baseball bat. But anyway, he got to have his neighbors on call to come out shooting. Okay. Wrap it up for us, Tavares.
I'm currently over at Lakewood Church of the prison ministry. Also about to start working with the media ministry. I would say to any young man, young woman out there that feel like gangs is a lifestyle for them, that they need to wake up and realize that the path that they're choosing is going to place them in places that they themselves won't be able to get themselves out of. It's going to take God and some human help, God intervening with that to help them. And most people realize that once they're put behind those bars, because most people are blind. They don't see the path and where it's going to take them years from now. But unfortunately, many who have went down that route see it now. And I got friends of mine doing life sentences over in Angola, and I love them. But I do know that, I was one of the guys that were chosen to come out and tell the story and let people know that you don't have to go that route. There are other routes you can take. I once heard a rapper say this, that there's 99 ways to make money, and selling dope is only one. Robbing is one. Taking hits is one. So if there's 99 ways to make money.
Right, those are only 3. What about the other 96
that's
ways?
what I'm saying.
They legit.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's get it done legitimately.
Even now, I come here. I'm a producer here now. I have a mentoring business. I have a foundation. So all these things are happening. I've been in some movies. I'm planning on doing my first movie this summer. Producing my first movie. I got a TV show called A Famous Touch. And so these are things I'm doing now that are positive and are inspiration to people. Let them know that, yes, I was a gang member, but I'm no longer a gang member. And if you ever see me wearing red, it ain't for no blood. It's for the blood of Jesus that washed all my sins away.
All right, we're going to wrap it up on that one. That's the way we want to wrap it up, Tavares. All right, will you come back and enlighten us some more one day?
Yeah, if you let me.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I hope you were inspired like I was tonight. And remember, if you have any stories out there or people that have stories, I want to tell your story. Good night. That was good. Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. We've been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to